My name is Evelyn Hart. I was 38 when my brother sent his two children to my house in a taxi, refused to pay the driver, and hung up after saying, "Now they're your problem." And the cruelest part was not that he abandoned them on my porch. It was that my whole family already knew he was going to do it. Before that night ended, my 5-year-old nephew would hand me a crumpled receipt from his dinosaur backpack. My 8-year-old niece would whisper something about a new mommy box she was not supposed to touch. And 1 week later, in a courthouse conference room, my brother would learn that the woman he called too lonely to say no had been quietly holding the one document that could take everything away from him. But at 7:42 p.m., on a rainy Thursday, all I had was a taxi in my driveway, two frightened children on my porch, and my brother's voice in my ear like a door slamming shut. "Derek," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "where are you?" He laughed once. Not a happy laugh. A tired, cruel, dismissive laugh. "Doesn't matter. Your kids are here. I know. They're alone. They're with you. The driver says you didn't pay him. Then pay him." I looked through my front window. Lily stood under the porch light, clutching her little brother's hand. Her coat was too thin for the rain. Owen had one shoe untied, his dinosaur backpack hanging open, pajamas visible inside. I lowered my voice. "Derek, what is going on?" There was music in the background, people talking, glasses clinking. He was not in a hospital. He was not in an emergency. He was somewhere having a good time. Then he said the sentence that changed the rest of our lives. "Now they're your problem." And he hung up. For a second, I did not move. I just stood there with the phone against my ear, listening to the deadline, staring at the children my brother had treated like bags of laundry he no longer wanted to carry. Then Owen saw me through the window and tried to smile. That broke something in me. Not in a loud way. Not in the way my family would have expected. I did not scream. I did not call Derek back 20 times. I did not send a paragraph in the family group chat begging people to care. I opened the front door. Lily looked up at me with rain on her eyelashes and said, "Aunt Evie, Daddy said not to be mad." I knelt right there on the wet porch. "I'm not mad at you, sweetheart." Owen held out a small plastic bag. "Daddy said these are our toothbrushes." Behind them, the taxi driver stood beside his car, soaked, uncomfortable, and clearly wondering if he had just witnessed something that needed police involvement. He was not wrong. I paid him in cash. I asked for a receipt. And I wrote down his name and badge number from the dashboard card. He seemed relieved when I did that, but also careful. "He told me someone would be waiting," the driver said. "He put the kids in himself, said you had agreed." "I didn't." The driver's face changed. That was the first piece of proof. I did not know it yet. But proof was about to become the only language my family understood. So before you judge me for what I did later, understand this. I fed those children first. I warmed them first. I dried their hair first. I made hot chocolate with extra marshmallows because Owen was shaking so hard the spoon tapped against the mug. Only after Lily and Owen were safe on my couch, wrapped in blankets and watching an animated movie they had seen 20 times before, did I start documenting. I took a photo of the taxi receipt. I saved the call log showing Derek had called me for 19 seconds before hanging up. I took screenshots of my unanswered texts. "Where are you? Why did you send the kids here? Are you coming back tonight? Do the kids have medication? Do they have school tomorrow?" No reply. Then I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, which told me she already knew. "Mom," I said, "Derek just sent Lily and Owen to my house in a taxi." There was a pause. Not shock. Not confusion. Just a pause long enough for her to decide which lie to use. "Well," she said, "he's overwhelmed." My hand tightened around the phone. He abandoned his children on my porch. Don't be dramatic, Evelyn. The movie played softly in the living room. Lily glanced toward me, so I walked into the kitchen and lowered my voice. Did you know he was doing this? Another pause. Then my mother sighed like I was the inconvenience. He mentioned he needed help for a few days. A few days? He packed their toothbrushes? Then help him. He didn't ask me. You're their aunt. He didn't ask me. You live alone. You have that big, quiet house. What else are you doing with your evenings? There it was. The old family math. My brother's chaos was an emergency. My boundaries were selfishness. His children were responsibilities when it suited him. Decorations when it impressed people. And burdens when he wanted his freedom. And me? I was the reliable one. The spare room, the extra plate. The woman who had never married, never had children, and therefore, in my family's eyes, never earned the right to say she was tired. Mom, I said slowly, where is Derek? He's at a dinner. What dinner? Evelyn. What dinner? She exhaled sharply. His engagement dinner. For a moment, I genuinely thought I had misheard her. His what? He and Marissa are making things official tonight. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. My brother had put his children in a taxi and sent them to me like unwanted furniture, so he could celebrate getting engaged to a woman who had never once smiled at them. My sister-in-law, Anna, had been dead for 14 months. 14 months since the accident. 14 months since Lily stopped drawing pictures with suns in the corner. 14 months since Owen started sleeping with one of Anna's scarves under his pillow. 14 months. And Derek was at an engagement dinner. Without his children. Because Marissa wanted a fresh start. That was what she called it in the family group chat 2 months earlier. A fresh start. At the time, I had stared at those words for a long time. Then I had looked at the photo attached beneath them. Marissa and Derek smiling on a boat. Both wearing white. Both holding champagne. Neither child in sight. I had not replied. That was my role in the family, too. Silence. Absorb the insult, keep the peace. Don't make everyone uncomfortable by naming the truth. But that night, standing in my kitchen while my niece and nephew sat soaked and confused in my living room, something inside me became very still. Mom, I said, I need you to listen carefully. I am taking care of the kids tonight because they are innocent, but what Derek did is not normal, and I'm not going to pretend it is. My mother's voice hardened. Don't you dare embarrass your brother tonight. I almost laughed. The children were on my couch with emergency toothbrushes in a grocery bag, and she was worried about Derek being embarrassed. Good night, Mom. Evelyn, don't start trouble. I looked toward the living room. Owen had fallen asleep, sitting up. Lily was pretending to watch the movie, but I could see her wiping her face with the blanket. I didn't start it, I said, but I will finish it. Then I hung up. And that is where this story really begins. If you have ever been the person your family uses because they think your kindness is a weakness, stay with me. Because what happened next was not loud revenge. It was not screaming. It was not a public meltdown. It was a quiet record, a careful timeline, and a little girl brave enough to tell me where her mother's last envelope was hidden. I had always been close to Anna, not in the dramatic way people claim after someone dies, truly close. Anna was not just my brother's wife. She was the first woman in my family who looked at the way Derek treated me and said, "Why do they all talk to you like your staff?" I remember laughing when she said it, because no one had ever put it that plainly. It was Thanksgiving, 6 years earlier. I had cooked half the meal, set the table, picked up my mother's prescriptions, and still somehow ended up being criticized because the rolls were not warm enough. Anna had found me in the garage, crying quietly beside the recycling bin. She held out a glass of wine and said, "Your family has built an entire economy on your guilt." That was Anna. Sharp, kind, impossible to fool. When Lily was born, Anna asked me to be at the hospital. Not my mother. Not Marissa, who was then just Derek's coworker. Me. When Owen was born, Anna put him in my arms and said, "If anything ever happens to me, promise me you'll keep them from being treated like accessories." I told her nothing would happen to her. She did not smile. "Promise me anyway." So I did. At the time, I thought she was being emotional. She had just had a baby. She was exhausted. Derek had been complaining in the hallway because the vending machine only had diet soda. But later, I learned Anna had seen things I had not wanted to see. Derek forgetting daycare pickup. Derek using bill money for weekend trips. Derek calling parenting babysitting when Anna needed 2 hours to herself. Derek charming everyone in public and vanishing in private. My family adored Derek because he knew how to perform need. I did not. I just handled things. That was why, after Anna died, everyone assumed I would become the unpaid second parent. At first, I did help. Of course I did. I made casseroles. I drove Lily to therapy. I took Owen to the dentist. I sat on Derek's kitchen floor folding tiny socks while he stood in the doorway scrolling on his phone. But grief became convenience very quickly. One Saturday became every Saturday. A school pickup became 3 pickups a week. Can you watch them for 1 hour? Became, I'll be back after midnight. When I finally said I needed notice, Derek looked at me like I had slapped him. "They're your niece and nephew." "I know. Anna would be disappointed in you." That sentence worked for a while. It worked because I loved Anna. It worked because I loved the kids. And it worked because my family had trained me to believe that my exhaustion was less important than everyone else's discomfort. Then Marissa entered the picture. She was polished, blonde, and always smelled like expensive vanilla perfume. She called herself a lifestyle consultant, though no one knew what that meant. She never said she disliked Lily and Owen directly. People like Marissa rarely do. She just said things like, "Children need structure," when Lily cried at dinner. Or, "Owen is very attached to the past," when he asked for his mother's scarf. Once, at my mother's birthday lunch, Lily reached for Derek's hand. Marissa smiled and said, "Sweetie, Daddy is talking to adults." Lily pulled her hand back like she had touched a hot stove. I saw it. Anna would have seen it too. Derek did not. Or he pretended not to. 3 weeks before the taxi, Derek called me and asked if the kids could stay over for the weekend. "What's the occasion?" I asked. He hesitated. "Marissa and I are looking at venues." "Venues?" "For the wedding." I closed my eyes. "Derek, have you talked to the kids about this?" "They'll adjust." "That's not an answer." He snapped. "You're not their mother." No, I was not. Their mother would have done much more than ask a question. I told him I could take them Friday night but not the whole weekend. I had a work training Saturday morning. I was an attendance coordinator for the county school district, which sounded boring to my family until they needed me to understand records, dates, signatures, custody paperwork, and exactly how systems tracked neglect. My mother always introduced my job as, "Evelyn works in an office at a school." Anna used to correct her. "Evelyn protects kids from falling through cracks." That was closer to the truth. I had spent 12 years reading between lines, a child with too many absences, a parent who always had an excuse, a pickup form changed too quickly, a signature that did not match, a teacher's note that said, "Student seems tired lately." Small things matter when children are involved. That was why, the morning after Derek sent Lily and Owen to my house, I did not just pack their lunches and drive them to school. I walked inside with them. I asked to speak to the front office. The secretary, Mrs. Alvarez, knew me because Lily's school worked with my district office. She looked surprised to see me. Everything okay? I glanced at Lily, who was holding Owen's hand like she had become his mother overnight. I need to update emergency contact information, and I need to know who is listed for pickup. Mrs. Alvarez lowered her voice. Is there a custody issue? Not officially. Yet. That word sat between us. She printed the forms. And that was when I saw the second piece of proof. 2 days earlier, Derek had removed Anna's parents from the approved pickup list. Then he had added Marissa. Not me. Not my mother. Marissa. A woman the children had known for less than a year. Under relationship to child, he had written one word. Mother. I stared at it so long the letters blurred. Mother. Not stepmother. Not father's fiancé. Mother. Anna had been erased in blue ink. Mrs. Alvarez saw my face. Evelyn, can I have a copy of the update log? She hesitated. I understood. Schools have rules, so I did not push beyond what I could legally request. I documented what I could. I wrote down the date. I asked Derek by text why he had changed the pickup list and whether Anna's parents had been informed. He did not answer, but Lily did. On the walk back to my car, she said, Daddy said Grandma Ruth makes Marissa uncomfortable. Grandma Ruth was Anna's mother, a woman who had lost her daughter and was now slowly being pushed away from her grandchildren. I crouched beside Lily in the parking lot. Did Daddy say anything else? Lily looked toward the school doors as if someone might hear. He said we have to stop making Marissa feel like a visitor. I kept my voice even. And how do you feel? She shrugged in that heartbreaking adult way children learn when nobody gives them permission to be honest. I don't know. Owen kicked at a pebble. Marissa threw away Mommy's mug. Lily turned sharply. Owen. He looked scared, like he had broken a rule. I touched his shoulder. It's okay. What mug? The yellow one, he whispered. With the bees. Anna's favorite mug. She drank tea from it every morning. It had tiny bees painted around the rim and a chip near the handle. After she died, Lily used to ask to hold it when she missed her. Marissa had thrown it away. That was not legally important. But emotionally, it told me everything. When we got back to my house that afternoon, the family group chat had exploded. Not with concern for Lily and Owen, with anger at me. My mother wrote first. Your brother says you're threatening him. Then my older cousin Paula added, Evelyn, this is not the time to make things difficult. Derek deserves happiness. My Aunt Linda wrote, those children need stability, not drama. I stared at the word stability. The children had arrived in a taxi with no booster seat, no medication instructions, no school clothes, and no explanation. But I was the drama. Then Derek finally appeared. Stop acting like a victim. You always wanted kids. Congratulations. I did not answer. That was another thing I had learned from Anna. When people are careless enough to write cruelty down, let them. So I took screenshots. Every message. Every timestamp. Every insult. Then I muted the chat. At 6:15 p.m., Derek called. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. Then he sent a voice message. I sat at my kitchen table, pressed play, and listened to my brother destroy himself. Evelyn, stop being weird. Mom told me you're trying to make this into some legal thing. They're with family. That's not abandonment. You're not special because you work in a school office. Keep them through the weekend. Marissa and I are going to the lake house to finalize wedding stuff. I'll deal with you Monday. There it was. Keep them through the weekend. Not asking. Informing. Then a second message came through. This time from Marissa. Her voice was soft, practiced, and poisonously sweet. Hi, Evelyn. I know this is emotional for you, but Derek and I are building a new life. And the kids need to learn that not everyone revolves around their grief. You're honestly the best place for them right now because you don't have your own family obligations. Try to see this as a blessing. A blessing. Being used as an emergency dumping ground was a blessing because I had no husband and no children. I saved that message too. Then I made dinner. Spaghetti. Garlic bread. Sliced apples. Lily ate quietly. Owen spilled sauce on his sleeve and immediately apologized 3 times. Buddy, I said gently, you don't have to be sorry for sauce. He looked down. Marissa says big boys don't make messes. Marissa is wrong about a lot of things. Lily's eyes lifted to mine. I had not meant to say it out loud, but I was glad I had. After dinner, I helped Owen take a bath while Lily sat on the hallway rug with her homework. When I came out, she was not doing math. She was holding a folded paper. What's that? I asked. She pressed it against her chest. Daddy said not to show anyone. I sat beside her, leaving space between us. You don't have to show me, but if it makes you scared, you can tell me. She looked toward the bathroom door where Owen was singing softly to himself. It was in Mommy's drawer. Marissa put stuff in a box. She said Daddy needed to clean out the dead wife energy. I felt my stomach turn cold. The what? Lily's chin trembled. Dead wife energy. I looked away for 1 second because I did not want a child to see my face. Then Lily held out the paper. It was not a legal document. It was a list. Written in Marissa's neat handwriting. Sell, donate, storage, Anna's clothes, Anna's books, Anna's kitchen things, Anna's photo albums, the children's baby memory boxes, and at the bottom, underlined twice, Anna documents. Ask Derek before shredding. Shredding. I kept my voice steady. Lily, do you know what documents? She nodded. Mommy's blue folder. I remembered that folder. Anna kept everything organized. Birth certificates, insurance paperwork, medical records, school forms, copies of letters. She used to tease Derek that if she died, he would not know where the water bill was. He would shrug and say, "That's why I married you." Everyone laughed. Anna did not. Where is the blue folder now? I asked. Lily swallowed. In the new mommy box. The what? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Marissa has a box in Daddy's closet. She said everything from Mommy that makes us act sad goes in there until we can be normal. I wanted to call Derek right then. I wanted to say words I could never take back. Instead, I put my hand flat on the floor and breathed. Calm is not weakness. Sometimes calm is the only way to keep from giving careless people the reaction they can use against you. So I asked the most important question. Lily, did you put anything in your backpack? She looked guilty. I took one envelope. My heart began to pound. Where is it? She pointed to the purple backpack by the door. Inside, between a library book and a half-crushed granola bar, was a cream envelope with my name written across the front. Evelyn. Not Aunt Evie. Not in case of emergency. Just Evelyn. Anna's handwriting. For a moment, I could not open it. Grief is strange that way. A voice can disappear from the world, and then one line of handwriting can bring it back so sharply you feel almost wounded by it. I opened the envelope at my kitchen table after the kids went to sleep. Inside were 3 things. A handwritten letter, a copy of a notarized guardianship preference, and a business card for an attorney named Margaret Sloan. The letter was dated 6 months before Anna died. Evelyn, if you are reading this, either I became brave enough to give it to you, or something happened and Lily found it like I asked her to if things ever felt wrong. I know that is a terrible thing to put on a child. I hate myself for even planning it. But I need one adult in Derek's family to understand that love is not the same as safety. Derek loves attention. He loves being admired. He loves being rescued. But he does not love responsibility unless someone is watching. If I'm gone, he will perform grief beautifully. Then, he will hand the hard parts to you. Please do not let my children become props in his next life. I have filed paperwork naming you as my preferred guardian if Derek becomes unwilling or unable to provide stable care. I know preference is not power by itself. Margaret can explain. I also created a small trust from my life insurance for the children's education and therapy. Derek knows about the trust, but he does not know I requested oversight if concerns are documented. I hope this letter becomes unnecessary. But if he ever makes them feel unwanted, believe the children. Believe Lily. She notices everything. I had to stop reading. My hands were shaking. Not because I was surprised Derek could be selfish, because Anna had known. She had seen the future coming and tried to leave a light on. The next morning, I called Margaret Sloane. She was older than I expected, with a voice like she had no patience for foolishness, and even less for men who mistook children for luggage. "Evelyn Hart," she said after I explained. "I wondered if I'd hear from you. You knew about me. Anna spoke very highly of you." That almost broke me again. I looked through the kitchen doorway. Lily was helping Owen build a tower from cereal boxes. "What can I do?" I asked. Margaret paused. "First, keep the children safe. Second, document everything. Third, do not allow your family to bait you into emotional responses. Fourth, do not make promises to Derek off the record. And fifth, send me copies of every message, receipt, voicemail, and timeline you have." "I have a taxi receipt." "Good. A voicemail telling me to keep them through the weekend." "Better." He changed school pickup forms and listed his fiancée as their mother. Silence. Then Margaret said, "Send me everything." I did. The taxi receipt, the screenshots, the voice. Kicked messages, the list from Marissa, photos of the children's packed bags, the call log, a written timeline. I also wrote down what the children had told me, carefully, without adding emotion or interpretation. Owen said Marissa threw away Anna's mug. Lily said documents were placed in a box. Lily brought envelope addressed to Evelyn. Marissa voice message said, "Children need to learn not everyone revolves around grief." Derek voice message said, "Keep them through weekend." Facts, not feelings. My family had always used my feelings against me, so I gave them facts. By Saturday morning, Derek still had not come. He posted a photo on social media instead. Him and Marissa on a dock at the lake house, wrapped in a blanket, captioned, "Finally choosing peace." I looked at that photo while Lily sat beside me eating toast. She saw it too. Her face went blank. Children should not have to practice hiding heartbreak at 8 years old. "Is Daddy coming today?" she asked. "I don't know yet." That was honest. She nodded. Then she said, "Marissa says when they get married, we might stay with you more." "How much more?" Lily picked at the crust of her toast. "She said maybe school weeks." "School weeks, Monday through Friday. The hard days, the homework days, the lunch packing days, the fever days, the permission slip days." Derek wanted the applause of fatherhood on weekends and holidays. Marissa wanted the children out of the house long enough to redecorate their grief away, and my family wanted me to accept it because it was easier than confronting him. That afternoon, my mother came over. She did not call first. She arrived in her beige coat, holding a casserole like carbohydrates could cover moral failure. When I opened the door, she looked past me. "Where are the kids?" "Playing." She stepped inside without being invited. I blocked her path. Her eyes narrowed. Don't be ridiculous. Mom, did you know Derek planned to leave them here through the weekend? He needed time. Did you know he told Marissa they might stay with me during school weeks? Her mouth tightened. That would not be the worst thing. I stared at her. You think he should give me his children 5 days a week? I think you should stop acting like this is some punishment. A lot of women would be grateful. There it was again. Because I was single, I should be grateful for discarded responsibility. Because I was childless, I should accept children delivered without consent. Because I loved Lily and Owen, I should let everyone exploit that love. My mother lowered her voice. Evelyn, your brother has suffered. So have his children. He lost his wife. They lost their mother. He deserves to rebuild his life. They deserve not to be abandoned in a taxi. Her face hardened in a way I knew well. That old maternal disappointment she had used on me since childhood. You were always jealous of Derek. I almost smiled. Not because it was funny, because that accusation was so familiar it had lost its teeth. When I was 12, I was jealous because Derek got new cleats and I got his old backpack. When I was 21, I was jealous because he wrecked my car and my parents still paid his rent. When I was 30, I was jealous because I refused to lend him money for a business idea that was actually a vacation. Every boundary I ever had was renamed jealousy. No, I said. I was always responsible for Derek. She flinched. Good. Then Lily appeared in the hallway. Grandma? My mother's face changed instantly. Soft, sweet, performative. Oh, darling. Come here. Lily did not move. That told me something. My mother opened her arms anyway. Come give Grandma a hug. Lily took one step back. My mother noticed. Her eyes flicked to me. What have you been saying to her? Nothing. Lily's voice was small. Daddy said you told him we were too sad. My mother froze. I looked at her. What? Lily's fingers twisted in the hem of her shirt. Daddy said Grandma told him we make everyone sad because Mommy's gone. The room became very quiet. My mother's casserole dish trembled slightly in her hands. That is not what I meant. I did not raise my voice. What did you mean? She looked at Lily, then at me. I meant the children need to move forward. Lily's eyes filled. I don't want to move away from Mommy. My mother sighed. Not cried, not apologized. Sighed. Like the grief of a child was poor manners. That was the moment I decided she would not be alone with them again. I took the casserole from her hands. Mom, you need to leave. Her mouth fell open. Excuse me? You need to leave. You are being cruel. No, I am being clear. She looked toward the hallway as if hoping Owen would appear and make me soften. He did not. Your brother will hear about this, she said. I'm counting on it. After she left, Lily started crying. Not loudly, just silently, with tears running down her face. I pulled her into my arms, and she whispered, I don't want to be a problem. That sentence is why I did not feel guilty later. Not once. Because children hear everything. They hear the sighs. They hear the jokes. They hear fresh start. And understand it means without them. They hear too sad and learn to hide their grief. They hear your problem and think it is their name. So I held my niece and told her the truth. You are not a problem. Owen is not a problem. Adults are making bad choices. That is not your fault. She cried harder. Sometimes truth hurts before it heals. By Monday morning, Derek still had not come. Margaret filed an emergency motion requesting temporary protective orders related to the children's care and financial oversight of their trust. She was careful, measured, everything by the book. I did not ask to take Derek's children. I asked the court to recognize what Derek had already done. There is a difference. Derek finally showed up Monday at 10:30 a.m. not alone. He brought Marissa. She stayed in the passenger seat of his SUV, wearing oversized sunglasses though the sky was gray. Derek walked up my porch like he owned it. I opened the door but kept the chain on. His eyebrows shot up. Seriously? The kids are at school. I know that. I'm here for their stuff. Their stuff? Yeah. Marissa and I talked. We'll pick them up Wednesday. Maybe Thursday. We need a smoother transition. I looked at him through the gap in the door. You disappeared for 4 days. They were with you. You did not provide medical information, school clothes, medication instructions, consent forms, or money. He rolled his eyes. Oh my God. Listen to yourself. You sound like a government pamphlet. That's interesting, I said, because I sent the government pamphlet version to my attorney. His expression changed. Only slightly. But I saw it. What attorney? Margaret Sloan. The color drained from his face. Not all at once. Just enough. You had no right to call the attorney Anna named in the envelope addressed to me? He took a step back. Marissa got out of the SUV. What envelope? Derek turned. Get in the car. But Marissa had already heard enough to become curious, and curiosity was stronger than loyalty. What envelope, Derek? I watched him calculate. Then he pointed at me. She's lying. I opened the door as far as the chain allowed and held up my phone. Would you like me to play your voicemail? His jaw tightened. Evelyn. Or Marissa's. Marissa's face changed now, because people like Marissa enjoy cruelty in private. But they fear recordings. Derek lowered his voice. You don't want to do this. That was the closest he had ever come to sounding dangerous. Not violent. Just entitled enough to believe consequences were an attack. I kept my voice calm. You need to leave my property. You're keeping my kids from me? No. Their school day is keeping them from you. The court will handle the rest. He laughed, but it was thin. The court? You think a judge is going to give you my children because I let them sleep at their aunt's house? No, I said. I think a judge is going to ask why you put them in a taxi, refused to answer welfare questions, erased their dead mother from school records, tried to shred documents, and left a voicemail telling me to keep them through the weekend while you went to the lake. His face went still. That was when he understood. I was not emotional. I was prepared. Marissa whispered, Derek, what documents? He turned on her so fast she stepped back. Get in the car. This time, she did. Before he left, he leaned toward the door and said the sentence my whole family would later pretend he never said. You should be grateful. Without my kids, your house is just a waiting room for nobody. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, Thank you. He blinked. For what? For saying that clearly. Then I closed the door. My doorbell camera had recorded everything. That was the third piece of proof. By noon, my phone was a war zone. My mother called 7 times. My aunt called twice. Cousin Paula sent a paragraph that began with, Family should not involve courts, which is something people only say when court would expose them. Then my father called. My father rarely called me directly. He preferred to sit in silence while my mother did the damage. Then later claim he had nothing to do with it. Evelyn, he said, you need to drop this. No. He made a tired sound. Your mother is beside herself. She should sit down. Don't be disrespectful. Dad, Derek abandoned his children. He made a mistake. He planned it. You don't know that? I have messages. Messages can be taken out of context. I have voicemails. He paused. Then he said, You have always wanted to prove you were better than him. I looked at the stack of school forms on my table. At Anna's letter. At Lily's drawing taped. To my fridge, where 4 people stood under a yellow sun. Lily, Owen, me, and a woman with angel wings. I don't need to prove that, I said. Derek is doing it for me. My father went quiet. Then his voice became cold. If you keep pushing, do not expect this family to support you. That sentence might have terrified me 10 years earlier, maybe even 5. But that day, in my quiet kitchen, I realized something so simple it almost felt embarrassing. They had never supported me. They had used me. There is a difference. So I said, understood. And I hung up. That Wednesday, we had the emergency conference. Derek arrived in a navy suit looking handsome, wounded, and offended. My mother sat beside him with tissues in her lap. Marissa came too, though she sat slightly apart, scrolling on her phone until Margaret walked in. Margaret Sloane was not dramatic. She wore gray. She carried one folder. She did not raise her voice once. That made her terrifying. Derek's attorney, a man named Blake, began with the usual polished nonsense. This is a family misunderstanding. Mr. Hart is a grieving father who arranged temporary care with his sister. Unfortunately, Ms. Hart has escalated a private matter due to personal resentment and unresolved family dynamics. Personal resentment? I almost admired the phrase. It sounded so much cleaner than abandoned children in a taxi. Then Margaret opened her folder. My client did not escalate a private matter, she said. She responded to 2 minor children being delivered to her home without prior consent, adequate supplies, medical information, or a confirmed return date. Blake smiled. They were with their aunt. Margaret nodded. Yes, thankfully. The room went quiet. She continued. Because they were with their aunt, they were fed, clothed, brought to school, emotionally supported and documented as safe. That does not change the father's actions. It highlights what could have happened if Ms. Hart had not been home. Derek shifted in his chair. Margaret placed the taxi receipt on the table. Taxi receipt, Thursday, 7:42 p.m., driver statement attached. Father placed children in vehicle and instructed driver that an adult was waiting. Then the call log. Call from father to Ms. Hart lasted 19 seconds. Then the transcript. Quote, now they're your problem. Derek leaned forward. That was taken out of context. Margaret looked at him over her glasses. Please provide the context in which that sentence means responsible parenting. No one spoke. I wanted to frame that moment and hang it in my hallway. Then came the voicemails. Derek's voice filled the conference room. Keep them through the weekend. Marissa and I are going to the lake house to finalize wedding stuff. I'll deal with you Monday. My mother closed her eyes. Marissa stared at the table. Then her own message played. The kids need to learn that not everyone revolves around their grief. You're honestly the best place for them right now because you don't have your own family obligations. Try to see this as a blessing. Hearing it in that room changed the air. Cruelty always sounds different when it leaves the private space where it felt safe. Blake cleared his throat. My client's fiancé is not a legal party to this matter. Margaret said. Noted. Her influence on the children's living environment remains relevant. Then Margaret placed the school pickup form summary on the table. 2 days before the taxi incident, Mr. Hart removed the maternal grandparents from the approved pickup list and added his fiancée as mother. The conference room went silent. Even Derek's attorney looked at him. Derek whispered, it was just easier. Margaret's voice stayed even. Erasing a deceased parent from school documentation is rarely easier for the children. My mother finally spoke. This is cruel. Derek made mistakes, but Evelyn is trying to steal his children. I turned toward her. For the first time in my life, I did not feel smaller under her accusation. Margaret answered before I could. Ms. Hart is not requesting permanent custody today. She is requesting temporary stability, a formal care plan, and protection of the children's trust pending review. Derek's head snapped up. What trust? That was when I realized something. Anna had been right. Derek knew there was money, but not how protected it was. Margaret removed the final document. Anna Hart established an education and therapy trust for Lily and Owen. Derek Hart was permitted limited administrative access for approved child-related expenses, but the trust includes an oversight clause triggered by documented concerns regarding neglect, abandonment, or misuse. Derek looked genuinely shocked. Anna wouldn't do that? Margaret's face did not move. She did. She was my wife. She was their mother. Those 5 words landed harder than any shout could have. Marissa sat back slowly. My mother whispered, Derek? He did not look at her, because now everyone could see what I had suspected. This was not just about childcare. It was about money. The lake house where Derek and Marissa had gone for wedding planning belonged to Anna's parents. They had allowed Derek to use it after Anna died because they wanted access to the children. But 3 months earlier, Anna's parents had stopped paying Derek's household bills after learning the kids had missed therapy appointments. That was why Derek had been angry with them. That was why he removed them from the school pickup list. That was why he needed me. Not because he trusted me, because I was free. Free childcare. Free guilt. Free silence. And maybe, if he could make it look like the children were willingly living with me, he could tell the court he needed more direct access to the trust to support their transition. Margaret had found the pattern before I did. Missed therapy appointments, reimbursement requests for child enrichment that matched restaurant charges, a tutoring payment made to a company Marissa owned, a weekend family retreat billed to the trust while the children stayed with my mother. Facts, receipts, dates, the holy trinity of consequences. Derek's attorney requested a break. During those 15 minutes, my mother approached me in the hallway. Her face was pale. Evelyn, she said softly, why didn't you tell us about the trust? I almost laughed. Because I didn't know until Lily brought me Anna's envelope. Her eyes flickered. Lily should not have been involved. Lily had to save her mother's documents from being shredded. My mother recoiled. That is not fair. No, I said. It isn't. She looked older suddenly. For 1 second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then she said, if Derek loses access to that money, he'll fall apart. And there it was. Still Derek. Always Derek. What about Lily and Owen? I asked. She looked away. I nodded. Thank you for answering. When we returned to the room, Derek no longer looked wounded. He looked angry. Not explosive, not shouting, just cornered. The temporary agreement was not everything Margaret wanted, but it was enough. The children would remain with me for 2 weeks pending a full hearing. Derek would have supervised visitation. Marissa would have no unsupervised contact. The trust would be frozen pending review of expenses. Anna's parents would be restored to the approved school pickup list. The children would resume therapy. Derek would provide all medical, school, and identification documents within 48 hours. And most importantly, all communication would go through a parenting app or attorneys. No more family group chat trials. No more late-night guilt calls. No more. Now they're your problem. When Derek heard the terms, he looked at me with pure hatred. You're enjoying this. I could have said many things. I could have told him I had barely slept in a week. I could have told him Owen woke up crying because he thought Daddy had forgotten which house he was in. I could have told him Lily had hidden Anna's letter under her pillow because she was scared Marissa would find it. Instead, I said, no, I'm documenting it. That became the line he hated most. Because it was true. After the conference, Derek tried one last performance. He walked into the lobby where Anna's parents, Ruth and Paul, were waiting. Margaret had called them after confirming the pickup form changes. Ruth looked like she had aged 10 years in 2 days. Derek opened his arms. Ruth, I'm sorry you got dragged into this. Ruth did not hug him. She looked past him at me. Where are the children? With a friend from my office, I said. Safe. She nodded, then turned to Derek. You removed us from their school. He looked wounded again. Marissa felt judged. Paul's voice was low. Your children lost their mother. Derek snapped. I lost my wife. Ruth's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed steady. And then you tried to give away her children on a Thursday night. The lobby went silent. Even strangers looked over. Derek flushed. Lower your voice. Ruth stepped closer. No. Anna lowered hers for years. That was the first time I saw Derek truly afraid. Not of court. Not of me. Of Anna's mother finally saying what everyone had protected him from. Ruth looked at me again. Thank you for believing Lily. I could only nod. Because if I spoke, I would cry. That night, the kids and I made pancakes for dinner. I know that is not the kind of detail people expect in revenge stories, but it matters. Because justice is not only the moment a cruel person gets exposed. Sometimes justice is a 5-year-old getting to pour too many chocolate chips into batter because nobody is yelling. Sometimes justice is an 8-year-old asking if she can put her mother's photo on the bookshelf and hearing, of course, instead of, it makes people sad. Sometimes justice is a house that was once called a waiting room, becoming a place where children sleep through the night. At bedtime, Owen asked, Is Daddy mad? I sat on the edge of his bed. Daddy is having big feelings. Because of us? No, I said firmly. Because grown-ups made choices. And now other grown-ups are asking questions. He considered that. Do I have to be Marissa's fresh start? I closed my eyes for 1 second. Children hear everything. Nobody. You only have to be Owen. He seemed satisfied with that. Lily stood in the hallway after I tucked him in. Is the judge going to make us go back? I don't know what will happen forever, I said, because I refused to lie to her. But I know you will be heard. She hugged Anna's scarf against her chest. Mommy said you listen. I swallowed hard. I try. She said if people are loud, find Aunt Evie because she gets quiet when things matter. That almost broke me more than the letter. Because Anna had understood me. My family thought quiet meant weak. Anna knew quiet meant I was paying attention. 2 weeks later, we had the full hearing. By then, Derek's life had begun unraveling in ways he could not blame on me. Though he tried. Marissa moved out after the trust was frozen. Not because she had a moral awakening, because Derek could no longer pay deposits for the wedding vendors she wanted. My mother said Marissa was under stress. Ruth said, Good. Derek missed one supervised visit. Then arrived 20 minutes late to another. He brought gifts, loud plastic toys still in store bags, and spent half the visit arguing with the supervisor about whether she was writing things down. She was. That became another report. The trust review found 4 questionable reimbursement requests. One was for a children's wellness retreat at a lakeside resort. The children had been with me that weekend. Another was for educational consulting. The invoice came from Marissa's LLC. Another was for grief therapy materials. The charge was from a luxury home store. Derek claimed confusion. Margaret called it misrepresentation. The judge called it concerning. I will never forget the hearing room, the wood-paneled walls, the hum of fluorescent lights, the way Derek kept adjusting his tie. The way my mother sat behind him, smaller now, like she had finally realized the room did not care which child she preferred. Margaret presented the timeline. Taxi, voicemail, School forms, Marissa's message, Anna's letter, trust records, doorbell video, missed therapy, supervised visit reports. Each piece alone could be explained away by a charming man with a sad story. Together, they made a pattern, and patterns are harder to manipulate. Derek's attorney argued that grief had impaired his judgment. Margaret did not mock that. She simply said, "Grief may explain pain. It does not excuse abandonment, financial misuse, or emotional erasure of the children's deceased mother." The judge asked Derek directly, "Why did you tell your sister the children were her problem?" Derek looked at me, then at the judge, then at his hands. I was frustrated. The judge waited. Derek added, "I knew Evelyn would take care of them." That sentence revealed more than he intended. The judge leaned back. "You knew she would take care of the children, so you used that certainty instead of making an appropriate plan." Derek's attorney touched his arm, but Derek was angry now. "She always acts like she knows better." The judge said, "That is not an answer." Derek looked at me again, and there, in a courtroom, with everything on the record, my brother finally said what he had always believed. "She has nothing else." My mother whispered, "Derek." But it was too late. The words were out. She has nothing else. No husband, no children, no life that counted in his mind, just empty space available for his consequences. The judge's expression changed, not dramatically, just enough. "Ms. Hart," the judge said, "would you like to respond?" I stood. My legs felt unsteady, but my voice did not. "I have a life, Your Honor. I had one before Lily and Owen arrived, and I have one now. I did not ask for my brother's children to be sent to me in a taxi. I did not ask to become the responsible adult in this situation, but when they arrived, I took care of them because they are not burdens. They are children." I glanced at Derek. "Anna asked me to believe them if things ever felt wrong. I do. And I am asking the court to make sure the adults around them stop treating their grief, their money, and their mother's memory as inconveniences." The room was silent. Then I sat down. The judge granted temporary guardianship to me for 90 days. With review, Derek received supervised visitation and mandatory parenting classes. The trust remained under independent oversight. Marissa was barred from presenting herself as the children's mother in school, medical, or legal settings. Anna's parents received scheduled grandparent visitation. Derek was ordered to reimburse misused funds pending final accounting, and every adult involved was instructed not to disparage Anna, me, or the children's placement in front of Lily and Owen. It was not a movie ending. No one gasped. No one clapped. Derek did not get dragged out, but his face, when he realized charm had stopped working, that was enough. Outside the courtroom, my mother approached me again. This time, she did not look angry. She looked confused, like the world had changed shape, and she did not know where to stand. "Evelyn," she said, "I didn't know it was that bad." I looked at her for a long moment. "Yes, you did." She opened her mouth, closed it. I continued. "You knew the children were sad. You knew Derek was using me. You knew Marissa wanted Anna erased. You knew I was exhausted. You knew enough." Her eyes filled. "I was trying to keep the family together." "No," I said. "You were trying to keep Derek comfortable." That sentence landed between us like a stone. For once, she did not argue. Then she whispered, "Can I see them?" Not alone. Her face crumpled. A small part of me hurt. A larger part of me remembered Lily stepping back from her hug. "Trust is not automatic anymore," I said. "You can rebuild it if you want, slowly, with them. Not through me." She nodded. Behind her, Derek stormed past us. He did not look at me, But he said, low enough that only I could hear, "You stole my life." I answered just as quietly, "No, I returned your responsibilities." He kept walking. 3 months later, the 90-day review became a longer placement. Derek had completed only half of his parenting classes. He had missed 2 therapy coordination meetings. He had repaid 1 questionable trust expense, but disputed the rest. Marissa was gone. The engagement ended in a public social media post about misaligned values, which was the closest she ever came to admitting she had expected a widower with money and weekends free. Not 2 grieving children and court oversight. My family changed, too, though not all at once. My aunt stopped sending me articles about forgiveness after Margaret sent 1 polite email explaining that further harassment would be documented. Cousin Paula left the family group chat after Ruth posted 1 sentence. Protecting children is not betrayal. My father came by one Saturday and fixed my back fence without saying much. Before he left, he stood in the driveway and said, "I should have spoken up more." I said, "Yes." He nodded. That was our entire conversation. It was not enough, but it was the first honest thing he had given me in years. My mother started attending family therapy with Lily and Owen twice a month. The first session was terrible. She cried. Lily shut down. Owen hid under a chair. The therapist did not rescue my mother from the discomfort. That was new for her. By the 4th session, my mother managed to say, "I should not have said your sadness was too much." Lily did not forgive her right away. No one forced her to. That was also justice. As for Derek, he remained Derek. Some days remorseful, some days resentful, some days convinced he was the victim of women who had organized against him. But without unrestricted access to money, without my mother smoothing every consequence, and without me quietly cleaning up the wreckage, he had to face the ordinary weight of being a father. It did not make him noble, it made him accountable. There is a difference. People always ask if I adopted Lily and Owen. The answer is complicated. Legally, not at first. Emotionally, my house became home long before any paper said so. Owen planted sunflower seeds in the backyard because Anna loved sunflowers. Only 3 grew, crooked and stubborn along the fence. And he called them Mommy's Guards. Lily joined art club again. For months after Anna died, she had only drawn houses with no doors. Then one afternoon, I found a drawing on the kitchen table. A yellow house, a blue door, 4 sunflowers, and 3 people standing on the porch. Me, Lily, and Owen. Above us, in careful purple markers, she had written, "Not a problem." I kept that drawing. It is framed in my hallway now, right beside a small shelf where Anna's bee mug sits. Yes, the mug survived. That was the part Lily had not known. Marissa had thrown it into a donation box, not the trash. Ruth found it at the local thrift store after Lily told her what happened. The handle had a new crack, but the bees were still there. When Ruth brought it over, Lily held it like a treasure. Owen said, "Mommy came back as a cup." We laughed and cried at the same time. That is what healing often looks like. Messy, strange, a little funny, still painful, but real. 1 year after the taxi, Derek asked for unsupervised visitation. By then, he had improved enough that the court allowed a gradual plan. I did not love it, but protecting children does not mean punishing a parent forever when a parent is genuinely trying. The first visit was 2 hours at a supervised community center, then 4 hours at a park, then 1 afternoon at his apartment. The apartment had photos of Anna again. Not many, but enough. Lily noticed. When she came home, she said, "Daddy put Mommy back." I said, "How did that feel?" She thought about it. Like maybe he remembered we came from her. That was the best thing Derek had done in a long time. I wish I could tell you he became a perfect father. He did not. But he became a less protected one. And sometimes that is the only reason people grow. They stop being shielded from the harm they cause. The trust stayed protected. Therapy continued. Anna's parents remained part of the children's lives. My family learned that calling me selfish no longer opened my wallet, my calendar, or my guest room. And me? I learned that being calm does not mean accepting disrespect. It means choosing the moment when truth will be most useful. For years, my family mistook my silence for permission. They thought because I did not shout, I did not see. Because I did not argue, I agreed. Because I loved deeply, I could be used endlessly. They were wrong. The night Derek sent his children in a taxi, he believed he was handing me his problem. But Lily and Owen were never the problem. The problem was a family system that protected the loudest person and drained the quietest one. The problem was a father who wanted sympathy without duty. The problem was relatives who preferred my sacrifice to their discomfort. The problem was everyone who heard a child being erased and called it moving forward. Derek said, "Now they're your problem." But what he really did was deliver the truth to my front door. He delivered the taxi receipt. He delivered the witnesses. He delivered the timeline. He delivered the final proof that Anna had been right to worry. And he delivered 2 children into the arms of the one person he had spent his whole life underestimating. If there is one thing I want you to take from my story, it is this: when someone uses your kindness against you, do not rush to prove you are not hurt. Protect what matters. Write things down. Save the messages. Keep your voice steady. Let careless people speak. Most of the time, they will hand you the truth themselves. And when the moment comes, you do not have to destroy them. You only have to stop protecting them from the consequences they created. The last time Derek brought up that night, we were standing in my driveway after dropping the kids off from a Saturday visit. Owen had run inside to look for a toy. Lily was checking on the sunflowers. Derek looked at the porch for a long time. Then he said, "I really said it like that?" I knew what he meant. Now they're your problem. I could have been cruel. I could have played the voicemail. I still had it. Instead, I said, "Yes." He swallowed. "I don't remember being that person." I looked at him. "I do." He nodded slowly. For the first time, he did not defend himself. Then he said, "I'm sorry." It was not enough for everything, but it was something. I accepted it without handing him absolution he had not earned. "Tell them that," I said. He looked toward the house. "I'm trying." "I know." That was the most grace I could honestly give him. Inside, Lily had placed Anna's bee mug on the kitchen table and filled it with pencils. Owen was lying on the floor drawing another sunflower, this one taller than the house. My house was noisy now. Shoes by the door, lunch boxes on the counter, crayons under the sofa, therapy appointments on the calendar, a cracked mug full of pencils, a framed drawing in the hallway. A life. Not a waiting room. Not an empty space. Not a punishment. A life. And every time someone in my family forgets that, I remember the sound of that taxi pulling into my driveway. I remember the rain. I remember Lily's small voice saying, "Daddy said not to be mad." I remember Owen holding up toothbrushes like an apology. I remember my brother's words, "Now they're your problem." And I remember what Anna wrote, "Believe Lily." So I did. And that made all the difference.